For 4,000 years, one of the largest civilizations the ancient world produced left behind a writing system that nobody has been able to read. The Indus Valley script appears on over 4,000 recovered objects, seals, tablets, pottery, and copper plates, across a civilization that covered 1.25 million square kilometers of what is now Pakistan and northwestern India, and not a single sentence of it has been definitively decoded. No bilingual inscription exists. No ancient translator left notes. When Grok, the AI system developed by XAI, was directed to synthesize the full body of computational, statistical, and archaeological analysis applied to the Indus script across the last 3 decades, the result was the most coherent picture of the writing system anyone has yet assembled. Here is what that analysis found, and here is the evidence behind each conclusion. Reaching its peak between 2600 BC and 1900 BC, the Indus Valley civilization operated cities at Mohenjo-daro and Harappa, holding populations of 40,000 or more. With standardized weights and measures, sophisticated drainage systems, and civic planning that would not reappear in the region for thousands of years. Every one of those cities used the same writing system, which means the script almost certainly functioned as a genuine communication tool across a large, organized society, rather than a ceremonial or decorative one. Containing between 400 and 600 distinct signs, it sits between a pure alphabet and a logographic system like early Chinese. Pure alphabets use fewer than 30 signs. Syllabic systems use between 50 and 100, and a system with 400 to 600 signs is most consistent with a logo-syllabic structure, where some signs represent words and others represent sounds. Grok's synthesis confirmed this and added a detail the individual studies had never cohered around. The sign distribution follows Zipf's law, the mathematical pattern produced by natural human language, which means the Indus script almost certainly encodes speech rather than functioning as a counting or inventory system. Write in the comments where you are watching from. Curious to see how far this reaches. Even without a readable translation, the way signs appear in sequence tells researchers a significant amount about how the language functioned. Rajesh Rao at the University of Washington led a study in 2009 applying conditional entropy analysis and found the Indus script sitting in a range consistent with natural linguistic systems, closer to Sumerian and Sanskrit than to non-linguistic systems like DNA sequences or computer code. Building on this, Jiro K's positional analysis found that certain signs appear almost exclusively at the beginning of inscriptions, others almost exclusively at the end, and a smaller group only in the middle. That positional rigidity is consistent with a grammar, with a language that marks the beginning of a sentence differently from its close and uses prefixes or suffixes to carry grammatical meaning. The script follows consistent word order across objects recovered from sites 1,500 kilometers apart, which means whoever pressed these seals shared not just symbols but rules. More academic conflict surrounds the question of which spoken language the Indus script encodes than almost any other problem in linguistics, and Grok's synthesis points most strongly toward an early form of Proto-Dravidian, the ancestor of the language family that today includes Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, and Malayalam, spoken by over 220 million people across southern India. The geographical argument is straightforward. Dravidian languages sit today south and east of the Indus Valley region, consistent with a population displaced southward as the civilization declined around 1900 BC. Finnish scholar Asko Parpola spent 50 years applying comparative Dravidian linguistics to the corpus and identified sign clusters whose phonetic values under a Proto-Dravidian assignment produce words consistent with the objects the seals appear to depict. A sign cluster that appears repeatedly on seals showing a particular animal produces, under that assignment, a word meaning that animal in reconstructed Proto-Dravidian. Grok's synthesis found this pattern holding across enough sign-object pairings to move the Dravidian hypothesis from plausible to the most evidentially supported position currently on the table. If this is the kind of analysis you want more of, subscribing helps us keep going. No single sign in the Indus corpus has attracted more analysis than a symbol resembling a fish, appearing more frequently than almost any other mark and across more positional contexts than its competitors. In Proto-Dravidian, the word for fish is min, which is also homophonous with the Proto-Dravidian word for star, and Parpola identified this as a likely rebus, a technique where a sign represents a sound rather than its depicted object, allowing abstract concepts to be written using pictures of concrete things. Under this reading, the fish sign encodes the sound man, regardless of whether the context involves fish or stars, allowing it to build compound signs and contribute to longer words. Grok's positional analysis found the fish sign appearing in compound clusters that, under a Proto-Dravidian phonetic assignment, produce words meaning specific stellar bodies and constellations, consistent with an agricultural society tracking seasons. No other phonetic assignment tested against the corpus produces comparable coherence across that many sign combinations. The reason the Indus script remains technically undeciphered, despite 50 years of rigorous analysis and the most advanced computational tools applied to it, comes down to a single absence. No bilingual inscription has ever been found. Egyptian hieroglyphics fell to the Rosetta Stone because the same text appeared in hieroglyphics, Demotic script, and ancient Greek, giving researchers a known language to map one system onto another. No equivalent object exists for the Indus script, and the civilizations collapse around 1900 BC, driven by climate shifts that disrupted the monsoon patterns the agricultural system depended on, ended the tradition before any such record could be created. Grok's synthesis is direct about what this means. The analysis produces the highest probability interpretation of the script structure and underlying language, not a confirmed translation, and it narrows the problem from completely open to partially solved. Write in the comments whether you think the Indus script will ever be fully decoded. The disagreement in the comments is always the most interesting part. Averaging just 5 signs each, most Indus inscriptions are short, appearing on seals pressed into clay to mark goods, ownership, or origin, and the most probable reading of the majority of them is not religious text, not royal proclamation, and not philosophical writing. Names, titles, and the identity of whoever held the seal, the ancient equivalent of a merchant's stamp used to authenticate goods moving through a trade network stretching from the Persian Gulf to Central Asia, is what the framework Grok's synthesis supports most strongly. That reading lands with less drama than a decoded prophecy, but it holds up better against the evidence, because seals function as identity markers in every other ancient civilization that used them, and consistency across civilizations is how linguistic hypotheses survive contact with the record. The Indus script resisted every human attempt to read it for 4,000 years, not because the civilization encoded its knowledge deliberately beyond reach, but because it disappeared without leaving a translation, and every tool brought to bear on the problem before computational analysis lacked the processing capacity to work across the full corpus at once. Grok's synthesis did not decode the Indus script. What it produced is the most complete and evidentially coherent account of what the script probably is, how it probably functions, and what its most frequent signs most probably mean. It is the widest the door has ever opened. A civilization that housed 40,000 people in planned cities while most of the world lived in scattered settlements is, for the first time, beginning to answer back. And the answer looks less like a mystery and more like a receipt.